Hey, good morning, my friends. Guess what? It's warm in Kingman. It's already close to 85 degrees, and we're going to have almost record heat for about the fifth straight day. That's one reason we're going to check on Markku and Jacob uh, later in the program to find out how they are doing with their cross country trip in their 73 Chrysler New Yorker. When I met with them yesterday, they were getting ready to head out into the desert down Needles and across the Mojave Desert. And, well, they were having air conditioning issues. My goodness. Talking about an authentic Route 66 experience. Good morning, Keith. Got some great things for you today. It's National Book Lovers Day. So what we're going to do is have a great conversation to start this thing off with Cheryl Eichar Jett. She's got a great new book out, Apron's Away. And, when you think everything has been written and said and done about Route 66, you realize there's still chapters that haven't been written. So this is going to be kind of a nice conversation. Cheryl and I have known each other and worked together for many, many years on a variety of projects. And Cheryl is also one of the founders of the, Route 66, the annual Route 66 Miles of Possibility Conference that's held in Illinois. This year, it's a special Route 66 Centennial Conference. It'll be held in Springfield, Illinois. I think it's October 10th. And since it's National Book Lovers Day, too, if we have time, I'm going to sneak in a few plugs for some great books that I really, really recommend. I wanted to bring you up to speed on a couple things. Had a great week. We'll have a blog post up on Jim Hinckley's America pretty soon about chronic storytelling. And this past week, I had the pleasure of being the keynote speaker at Local First Arizona Rural Policy Forum. And I had a chance to share a bit of the history of Route 66, its prehistory, its evolution, its development, and what the popularity of Route 66 has potential for communities, for building a sense of community and, economic development, historic district preservation, all of that. So let's see if I'm going to get a hold of Cheryl here real quick and we'll see if we can we've got a lot to talk about. Cheryl's book is Good morning, Miss Cheryl. How are you today?
Hey, I'm good. We're about to experience some heat here today too.
Yeah, I was going to let you call me, but I thought, well, what the heck? Since I had a couple minutes, I was really eager to talk with you about your new book because I was just talking about that, and I had this conversation with Markku and Jacob, who were traveling Route 66 in their 73 Chrysler. He was talking about writing stories on Route 66 and how some of the editors tell him everything's been written. And your book is clear evidence that's not the case. There's a lot of chapters and stories that have not been told.
That's so true. And of course, I look at that from the women's standpoint as a woman and as a historian with a background in women's studies. But I'm fully aware that there's a lot more stories out there that don't necessarily involve women as well. But the thing, when I started researching these stories, well, as you know, I've been collecting these stories for about a decade. And I started with sort of the visible women, what I call the visible women, the ones that serve the traveling public, where you would go home and have memories of that special waitress or that woman at the Vintage Motel Court or whatever. But of course, when I started digging behind the scenes, that's when I found the public servants and the journalists and the artists and all that sort of thing. But exactly, just so many stories. And I have got so many stories, I could fill another volume at this point because so many stories just the book was getting unmanageable. And so there's enough for another volume if that happens.
Well, I'm sure it will. And I understand, that's one of the things people don't think about when you start writing, it gets out of hand. That's why we have editors to kind of jerk the leash a little bit. Otherwise, you have a 82,000 page, 500-pound book. And because every time you start pulling on a string, boy, I tell you, the stuff that you uncover.
Oh, that's so true. And I go down every rabbit hole that even hints at appearing. But so I did. I ended up following those strings for a lot more stories, and that's just exactly what happened with this project. It was heading toward 100,000 words, and for a popular history book, that's a little hefty.
Oh yeah, and this is out of Reedy Press. Boy, they put out some great books. I'm really sorry to say I haven't had a chance to read your book yet, but I'm very eager. This is a book I think that I really need to read. Because we've talked about this over the years, and some of the people that you've mentioned and the stories you've found have just been inspirational and fascinating.
It's been really intriguing. I feel like I've come to really know, some of these women, and I tell their stories so often at presentations, and sort of learned which of the stories really particularly strike a chord with a group of people that are listening.
Were you able to include Dotch Windsor in this Painted Desert Trading Post?
No, she was on my list. She was totally on my list, and of course I went through that editing process where I had to cut out. I actually, not too long before publication, I cut 2 full chapters out of the book that it was just.
Those were just small little travel, books. They weren't real in depth at all, but it was still a challenge when I was asked to come up with only 100 of my favorite places on Route 66, because that list covers about 800 or 900 places, and grows daily.
I get it. That's the hardest part, isn't it? Is deleting your babies from your book.
Aside from the obvious, like you said, waitresses and restaurant owners, what other roles did you find that women had played in the evolution and history of Route 66?
Well, some of them that I found were not even things that I had really thought of when I started the project. In the 1930s, as part of the overall New Deal that was enacted, as most of us know, there were writers and artists, creative sorts, that were supported by some of those programs. And there was a program to paint murals in public buildings, particularly post offices and some libraries, and it would go some way towards supporting artists, particularly those that painted murals, and it was sort of touted as a way to bring people's spirits up, to uplift them with art of landscape and wildlife, the flora and fauna of the area. And I found that there were several female mural artists in that program. So who knew? So Edmonton, Oklahoma, Monrovia, California, Edwardsville, Illinois, and there were a couple others, the 4 or 5, where there were female artists. So I thought that was just super interesting, because that was along the highway. We can figure that people traveling Route 66 could have gone in a post office, or living along the route would have gone in these post offices. And so I thought that was just an interesting side note, that something we don't think about, generally speaking, along the route.
Have some of those murals survived?
Yes, yes. Interestingly, some of them have been transferred to other buildings. For instance, a couple that were originally in post offices, and either the post office was remodeled and or the post office actually moved into a different building. And so they now reside in libraries. So there's several interesting stories about that. In Monrovia, California, an artist named Helen Forbes, did 2 murals of bears, because Monrovia was known for a long time as the bear town. Bears were coming down out of the hills into the city of Monrovia. And so she painted 2 murals of bears. And at some point in time when things were renovated at the post office, the murals were rolled up and stored away. And then some years back, they found one, but one of the murals is still missing. But you can see one of them in the Monrovia Public Library now. And then here in Edwardsville, where I'm based, a woman named Miriam McKinney, a wonderful, wonderful artist, and she did mural work as well. She painted a series of murals depicting industry and agriculture for our Edwardsville Public Library. But a couple decades later, the Edwardsville Library suffered a devastating fire. It didn't take the stone walls down, but it destroyed the interior. It destroyed the murals. And then some years later, Miriam McKinney came back and painted 2, no, it was more than 2. I guess there's 4 murals in our Edwardsville Library. And she painted murals this time of children's fairy tales, nursery rhymes, that sort of thing. And those murals are still there. You can go down in the lower level of our library and see McKinney's work. So there's some really twisted tales. Oh, and then there's one more in the Edmonton post office where there were some murals, and I forget now the titles or the topic of them, but they were probably nature or Western scenes. And then the Edmonton post office was the site, I can't remember the date, it was in the 1980s, I think. It was where the going postal expression evolved. Yes, and there was a shooter in the Edmonton post office. So the Edmonton post office had a mural or 2, but it was closed after that incident, and the murals were moved elsewhere.
You know, I've been working on for probably 30, 40 years and gathering information. I tried selling it when I was first started writing, was about the people behind the early auto industry. And, you know,
Yes.
we have a tendency with history. It's funny how things slip through the cracks, but even though women were often, especially the first decades of the 20th century, to a secondary role, it's fascinating how many women were involved in projects, big projects, automotive, as well as with like highway development, Route 66.
Absolutely. And you turned up a bunch of those stories, especially the, some of the early women motorists and travelers. I can get her name wrong. Florence Lawrence, I think her name is.
Florence Lawrence.
Yeah, who is also a Hollywood actress. And I originally had a chapter in this book devoted to early women travelers. But at some point, I realized that was another book. And because some of these women it wasn't really their work. Some it was, especially the suffragettes in the 20s. But like Emily Post, the guru of etiquette, and other women that had money. And it wasn't really their work or their career. It was just they were out driving. So I thought, okay, I'm going to take this chapter out of the book. But the involvement, as you say, even in the auto industry was incredible. The women in the 50s that were hired by General Motors, they were called the damsels of design. And there was a whole team of women that looked at the construction, design and construction, particularly of the interior of automobiles, to say to the head designers, well, this isn't going to work because a woman would not be comfortable with this, that sort of thing. So it brought a new aspect to the automobile industry.
As often happens when we get people just sitting and visiting like this, we kind of wander off topic. But the women in design studios, Studebaker started that in the 1920s with women in the design studio, and some of the early Mack trucks, when they started moving from just the square utilitarian trucks, it was a woman designer that designed Mack trucks. Of course, and some of the people who did make some money by Bessie Stringfield comes to mind.
Yes.
She made money doing stunts and showing up at carnivals and fairs and traveling the road.
Incredible stories. Bessie's another one on my list. If I get to the book about the women adventures, I'm glad to know about the women at Studebaker and the woman designer with the Mack trucks, because I did not know either of those stories.
As far as the women on Route 66, you mentioned the mural artists through the government programs during public arts programs and things during the Great Depression. There was a lot of great photographers. Some of the most famous photographs taken of the Great Depression, the Dust Bowl, were taken by women photographers.
Absolutely. And in case in point, Dorothea Lange, who very luckily for me graces the cover of my book. And that was a Reedy Press choice, and it was one that I fully endorsed because I love the picture of Dorothea on the cover. I love it that she climbed up on her vehicle because she suffered from polio as a child, and she dragged one leg all her life. So I would guess that makes things a little more difficult to clamber up on a vehicle. So she was perfect for the cover.
I was not aware of her her limitations like that, because she sure didn't let her slow her down any. And her photographs are iconic. And, when you look at the photographs that she was taking during those years, she was doing more than just taking photographs. She was immersing herself in the situation, the dust, the heat, and she was enduring what those people were enduring.
She truly was. I got a wonderful biography of her that I learned things that I had no idea. She was born in New Jersey, but she grew up in New York City. And she came from a family they weren't extremely wealthy, but they had money. And so she was sent to a pretty nice school, but school bored her. And she found as she walked to school and as she walked back to their apartment from school that she was more interested in observing the people, and she would wander farther and farther out from the, nicer, quote unquote, neighborhood that she lived in. And she was fascinated by, all the different people working, where they were going, the looks on their faces. And that's where that all started from for her, looking at people's faces like she did later on with the Dust Bowl immigrants, conveying the emotion that she saw in their faces.
Aside from what other career fields or connections did you find with women on Route 66? Because this is really intriguing. Because, we think of these things as a man's world, so to speak. Studebaker had in one of their promotions, or one of their owner's manuals, actually, from I think 55 or 6, talked about that for women drivers, if you have a flat tire, make sure the seam on your nylons is straight, stand along the road and wait for help.
Yeah, that's a great story. And it so encapsulates, that sort of... Yeah, exactly. Well, I did find a lot of women that really sort of, we could categorize as those that sort of broke into the more male-dominated fields. For instance, in Missouri, we had the first female mayor in the state of Missouri, in the town of St. James. And she, Mamie Owsley, and Mamie served 4 terms. Her first term, she was voted in 1921, so the women had the vote by that time, and so she went around talking to all the women in town, and they voted her in, and she served 4 terms. Down in Carthage, Missouri, was the first female county clerk in the state of Missouri. In your neck of the woods, there was Isabella Greenway, who was the first Arizona congresswoman. And she lived mainly in Tucson, but she owned what's now known as a hat ranch up at Williams.
Okay.
So a couple of really veteran journalists, beginning with the famous Nellie Bly. There had been women journalists, but not always that made lifetime careers of it. And in Springfield, Missouri, and in Los Angeles, there was each a woman journalist who was, just a crack reporter, and that was their life. So those are some of the interesting ones. Oh, and then in California, Marilyn Jorgensen, because she was Danish, I believe, and she was from Minnesota, but she landed in the Los Angeles area, and she became the first certified highway engineer for California Department of Highways, which became, of course, Caltrans. She worked on the interchange there at the 210 and the, I'm going to get this wrong, 210 and the Santa Monica highways, I think.
Yeah, Hollywood Freeway down that way, sure.
Yeah, down that way. The interchange, which, of course, was sort of the network of highways that basically replaced, the use of US 66 out there. And so Marilyn was the prime designer of that, won awards for her work. And first certified highway engineer in California.
Your book, Apron's Away, this is from Reedy Press. And are you selling it yourself through your website or not yet?
I don't have them for sale on my website. Okay. I've never started a shop. Occasionally I just hear from somebody and they'd say, will you please sign a book and send it to me and I'll send you a check, the old fashioned way.
Yes. And
that's fine. And I accommodate people. And if that happens, and if you're listening and you want it done that way, just let me know. But otherwise I refer people to Reedy Press if you're buying online, and of course referring people to support the good business people along Route 66 and near Route 66, because the book's being carried in a lot of shops and bookstores. So if you can support an indie bookstore or mom and pop business along the way, that would be lovely. And if that doesn't work for you, of course, the usual online channels, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, all have it.
Well, that's a great segue. You got a road trip coming up.
I do, and I'm quite excited about that. I'm a little concerned about the heat because I find every year I get older. I don't do heat as well as I used to, but you know what? That's a small price to pay, right? So, yes. And I'm looking forward to being in Kingman with you.
Yeah, so you've got a whole string of book signings and appearances all down along the Route 66 corridor and a little bit off Route 66 up to Burbank with Auto Books, Aero Books, and possibly Prescott, Arizona, Charlotte Hall, which is just off Route 66. I've been talking with them, and I think there's some date and calendar issues. I just had a few more dates that sort of opened up that I was holding for somewhere that didn't materialize. So I've got a string of dates available for them at the Charlotte Hall Museum, which is another wonderful women's story. Yes.
And I hope that works out. Yeah, at Prescott.
Will you have a schedule of your book signings? Are you going to have that available, or where you'll be? And
Absolutely. I've got a page on my website that lists all my book signings and talks and all that sort of thing. Right now, the only California ones or Western tour ones that are on there right now are the Pasadena Museum of History and the auto books, and those are both the last weekend in August. I think that's the 27th and 29th. Don't hold me to that. But today I've got to do some website updating, and so our signing at Mr. D's in Kingman will go on the website, and then if the Charlotte Hall is able to be arranged, that'll be on there, and then I've got a couple others that need to go on there yet too.
It's going to be like old times, you and I together down at Mr. D's Route 66 Diner Gift Shop in the historic Dutton Motors facility. That's now I'm lost the dates. August 22nd?
Yeah.
Saturday, August 22nd. Very good. That's going to be a lot of fun. It'll be like old times. You and
it will. Working together on Miles of Possibility for so many years and various other projects. And you know what? Talking about projects we've both worked on, I've got to say a big thank you for including me in we were talking about Jim and Shelley's centennial book earlier. We need to talk about your centennial book, Route 66, 100 Years, and thank you for including me in that.
Well, these things are a team effort. And I couldn't think of probably anybody better, to write the book on the Illinois section than you. You've spent so many years, immersed in that. You were the perfect candidate.
Well, thank you. I really appreciated that. And I really enjoyed that because there's, every state, every one of the 8 states is important, and everyone's got its own quirks and history and atmosphere and landscape and all of that. But being a lifetime Illinoisan, I'm proud of what we accomplished here. And of course, the fact that we had the highway in place before Route 66 was designated was a fun thing to share. Yes.
Your website, what is that website address?
It is, and I'll spell too, because I know I got that whole cumbersome name in there. I insisted on keeping my maiden name and my professional name, and I paid for it and having to spell it. Anyway, it's Cheryl Eichar Jett.com, and it's CherylEicharJett.
Okay. We'll make sure that gets included too. One more item we probably should really discuss this morning is you mentioned the Miles of Possibility Conference. You were a founding member of that, and you have done such marvelous pinata impersonations over the years, keeping this thing alive and well with Terry Ryburn and Debbie Jo Erickson. You guys have just done marvelous. And this year it's Springfield, Illinois, October 10th.
8th through... let's say 8 through 11.
Oh, okay, very good.
Yeah, so it's a Thursday through Sunday, and sort of the usual format. Thursday will be tours, which we've got some really exciting ones planned. Friday and Saturday conference sessions with a lot of very special guests, and then Sunday a tour sort of thing on Sunday as well. So. The leading the pack this year is, as keynote speaker, is Jerry McClanahan, author of the Easy Guide to Route 66 Travel. And so we're excited about having Jerry come because the very first Miles of Possibility in 2015 in Edwardsville, we had Jerry and Jim and Shelley. And it was incredible to me that first year, the caliber of people that showed up that first year would just knock me out. That was amazing.
Yeah, Jerry had asked me to keep it quiet until you announced it, but I had breakfast with him at the Rock Cafe there in Stroud, Oklahoma. Judy and I had breakfast with him, and he was pretty excited about that. He mentioned that he was going to be the speaker, and I was really glad to hear that. I was really excited. I can't think of somebody better for a centennial event because he has been, well, he's one of the pioneers. But all the work I've done on Route 66, publishing and speaking, I've built it on the foundation that was laid by Michael Wallace and Jim Ross and Kip Wellborn and Jerry McClanahan, Shelley Graham. I've built it on their work.
Oh, I get that. I say that all the time. We stand on someone else's shoulders all the time. In one of the Route 66 groups on Facebook the other day, there got to be kind of a discussion, i.e. a little bit of an argument over the value of Jerry's easy guide. And of course, most of it look at it as the absolute Bible of really finding your way along the various alignments and little dog legs that exist. And they kept talking about the easy guide for travelers' use. And I didn't make the comment in the discussion, I may still, but I think about it as such a guide for freelance writers and authors.
Yeah.
Jerry's Easy Guide sits there with my dictionary because especially being on the East End, you know how it is for those of us that's on the East End or those that's in California. We don't always do the best job of getting to the opposite coast. And so I will freely admit that I am not an expert on 66 in the Los Angeles area particularly. And having Jerry's Easy Guide when I'm writing about going somewhere and having, that's just such an, I don't like the word, but it truly is an authority, it's just the be all and end all of guides.
Well, I still travel with a copy, and it's bookends. Jerry, that Easy 66 guide, that flip ring guide, and it's so personalized, where it even includes his phone number, encourage you to stop by his gallery. But it's really interesting. We have two bookends that really highlight and they illustrate what Route 66 is today. On one end, you have Jerry's Easy 66 guide, which I still travel with. And
Me too.
It's a throwback. That book would be perfectly suitable for a 1950s traveler. And then for the modern traveler, you have Marian Pavel and Touch Media's Route 66 navigation app. And they really go hand in glove. If you have those two items, you'll just enhance your trip. You'll take a lot of the worry, the stress out of it. You'll always be able to find Route 66. You'll learn things. You'll find points of interest that you normally would miss. They go together, hand in glove. And if you've got those two, you will have a great Route 66 adventure.
I totally agree. Marian's work is just incredible. And I love the way you put it together as sort of bookends and, because they both complement each other and maybe in kind of an odd way, but it's sort of like the complete package. And neither detracts from the other.
I am so excited about your book, Cheryl. I'm glad that you wrote this because there's so many of these untold stories about women on the road. And there's so many layers to this. We have a tendency to see Route 66 in the context of neon and tail fins. And we forget that there's the magic of Route 66 is and was, it's the people. The people behind the scenes, the people you never heard of, Lillian Redmond, that kept the Blue Swallow going when the highway was bypassed and everything was dying. She kept that thing alive. And it's the people. And you've written a very important chapter in this Route 66 story.
Well, thank you. As you know, this project's sort of been cooking along for a long time, and it got to the point where I couldn't not write it because I felt that way, that it was impossible impossible not to for me to tell these stories. But a lot of it to me boiled down to the point, anybody who has been into Route 66 in recent years remembers or at least knows the story of, say, Lucille Hammonds.
Yes.
in Hydro, Oklahoma, with the gas station, and how she famously gave away gas and sandwiches to people that had no money. Ramona Lehman at the Linder Moss Motel, etc. Connie Eccles sadly recently passed at the wagon wheel. You know, and some of those women that actually served were up front and visible to the traveling public. Their stories, thankfully, were pretty well and are pretty well known. So the book actually turned out to be kind of a 50-50 mix of women that reasonably enthusiastic Route 66 folks will know. And then the other approximate half is, you know, the women behind the scenes that nobody knew of. And that includes actually some women that are famous in their own right, but they weren't particularly associated with Route 66.
Cheryl, I want to thank you for taking time from your schedule to do this today. I just got your website up here, and I will put it on this when it's posted, and we'll get some promotion going for the 22nd. I look forward to seeing you here. Judy and I look forward to seeing you here in Kingman, and we'll have some fun down there at Dutton Motors, Mr. D's Route 66 gift shop. We'll have some fun. We definitely will have some fun.
Shelby's been most welcoming already, and I haven't even gotten to Kingman yet.
Cheryl, thank you for taking time today. I'm really excited for your book, and I think it's going to do well. I think it's going to do well.
Thank you, Jim.
I'm already going to encourage you. I want to see the second volume.
Well, I think it might happen. You know, I should have put a book in the mail to you before today, but, you know, I'll put one in the mail to you tomorrow. So you watch for it, okay?
Well, I'll tell you what, if you don't, maybe you could bring one with you.
Well, I bet I could do that as well.
Sounds good, Cheryl. Hey, thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
You bet. My friend, take care, and we'll see you very soon.
Sounds great. See you soon.
Bye-bye, Cheryl.
Bye.
God bless. That was great. It's always great to talk to Cheryl. And she's a good friend. She's been involved with so many Route 66 projects, and a very, very gifted and talented writer. Writes for a lot of publications. We didn't even get time to really discuss all the work that she's done in her lengthy career. But this book, Aprons Away, is... again, it's one of those great chapters in the Route 66 story that needed to be told. And I'm hoping she'll do a second volume. We need to know more about the women that played a role in making Route 66 what it is today. Hey, real quick, let's just do something here. Let's see if we can catch up with Markku and see how he's doing, and make sure they got across the desert okay. Because, like I say, they were having a little bit of air conditioning issues. So I wanted to make sure they got across the desert okay. Hey, Markku, how are you, sir?
Good, how are you?
You did it. You did it. You made it across the desert, and you're still alive.
Yep. Jacob is here with me.
Oh, Jacob, God bless. Quite an adventure. You guys had transmission problems, little AC issues, but otherwise, the old Chrysler did you good.
Yes, it was an easy trip.
Yeah. What a great road car that thing would be. What a great road car. Absolute comfort.
Yeah, it floats like a cloud.
How did you like that drive up through Oatman?
That was kind of, there were a lot of curves.
You know, it's hard to believe that that was the highway until 1952. And in 1939, when those towns were still booming, Gold Road and Oatman, there was 1 million vehicles in a year on that road.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
There were some like a pickup trucks that were driving there too. So we were at the smallest one, I think.
At least 3 or 4 times a year, some crazy SOB will let Garmin or navigation take him on that road because it's supposed to be a shortcut, and he'll take his 18-wheeler through there, and the road will be closed for several days while they try to get his truck back off the mountain. It doesn't work. Doesn't work. Oh, Oatman is kind of that's a quirky little adventure.
Yeah. Yeah, it was I think, fun place to visit. I wouldn't stay there, but
No, it's a great place to visit. And you made it to Amboy. Amboy is not in the middle of nowhere, but I bet you can see it from there.
Yeah, it was quite quiet when we were there. There was 2 other cars there, I believe.
Yeah, it's pretty quiet. It's the main traffic, of course, is Route 66, and then the Marines coming out of 29 Palms will run there through Amboy over Kelbaker Road and up to Las Vegas because it's a pretty straight run. Otherwise, it's pretty quiet out there.
yeah, and there was a thermometer, so it showed 118 degrees.
Only 118. Well, oh gosh darn, that's almost sweater weather out in Amboy. My dad used to tell me the people who lived in places like Amboy were dry roasted nuts.
But the car did great.
And so now it's up the coast to Monterey.
Yeah, that's the next stop.
Another great drive. So I got to ask, I know it was kind of a whirlwind trip for you. And I know you had issues there, had to replace the transmission there in Springfield, Missouri. But what did you think of Route 66 is compared to some of the other road trips you've had?
Yeah, because there's so much different things to see there.
Yeah.
Well, of course, it's a long road too.
Yeah.
And the different sceneries and, of course, different people to meet. I just really liked it.
Yeah, it's hard to find words to describe what Route 66 is. You almost have to experience it. And the people are the magic. The people are key.
Yeah. And of course, I like all kinds of weird roadside attractions. So,
well, there's a few.
So that's the place.
Yeah, there's a few of those around. Did you get a chance to stop at Uranus Fudge Company?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's speaking of quirky, that one's right in there. That's yeah, pretty quirky. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. And the Blue Whale is probably my favorite. I don't know, Jacob, did you have any favorites?
Oh, it was just all the people to meet, different languages, different nationalities. It was definitely international. And then, the scenery was awesome.
Yeah, it's probably the quintessential American road trip. It really is. But it's the people, the business, the travelers, as well as the business owners. I think that's what really makes US 66 different from US 12 or US 2 or 50. It's the people. They have an infectious enthusiasm for being on Route 66.
Yeah, true. And it's just funny how many international travelers we met on the road.
Pretty amazing. Hey, I have to ask, Jacob, how long before you get that Monte Carlo out and take a Route 66 trip?
Well, unfortunately, that one's not mine. That one's just for a customer. So, they hope to have that one on the road here shortly so that they can get out and enjoy it. But yeah, I mean, it'll be a little while before I'm out again.
Well, that Monte Carlo, I mean, you wouldn't want to give it to the customer until it's had a shakedown cruise to make sure it's okay.
Yeah.
You want to give it an adequate road test to make sure before they take possession of it.
No, it is a good idea. I'll have to add that to the invoice.
I can imagine how that would look on an invoice. That would be something else. So it's going to be a bit before you gentlemen take to the road again, huh?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a while.
Very good. Now, you got through LA, okay? Of course, driving Detroit and the Edsel Ford Freeway and a few of those things, it's not much different than LA. LA is kind of
crowded and fast.
Yeah, it's the world's fastest demolition derby.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some pretty crazy things out there on that road. Guys, I really, it was such a pleasure meeting all of you yesterday, and thank you for lunch. It was really fascinating to hear your story and get to see your car and get to share a little bit of Kingman with you.
No, it was awesome that we were able to walk around downtown with you and, have you share the history and everything. That was a very memorable moment there.
Well, my pleasure. It's like I always tell people, I have a gift for telling people where to go. So that's what we do. Gentlemen, I guess I'll let you get going. You're probably anxious to get on the road and get up the coast.
Yep.
My friends, take care, and hope the rest of your trip goes well, and please stay in touch.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Man, it's great to talk to those fellas. What a road trip inspiration they have provided. They were traveling with Brandon Gilogli from Haggerty Insurance for part of the trip from Albuquerque. Now that we're closing in on the end of this, real quick, since this is National Book Lovers Day, Apron's away. Got to add that to your list. I've mentioned these books previously. I just finished this one, Silence in the Sun by Joe Kehoe. Man, I got to tell you, if you're into biographies, stories of if you're in the Mojave Desert and life in the 1920s, 1930s, this is a well-researched book that reads in many places like a novel. First class, all the way across the board. Planning a Route 66 trip, of course. Young Cheryl mentioned that we've written for Reedy Press, and we will be signing books at Mr. D's Route 66 Diner and Gift Shop in the old Dutton Motors building here in Kingman, Arizona on Saturday the 22nd. This is a book Cheryl and I will also be signing since she's a co-author. We wrote this book with Dries Bessels, Reese Martin, and some others. And it really chronicles the entire history, prehistory, evolution, and future of Route 66. David Farmer, I'm reaching out to him so he can join us on the podcast. His book, Jack Rittenhouse, another one. Since it's National Book Lovers Day, you need to add to your list. I got something else I want to share with you real quick. I mentioned that I spoke at the Local First Arizona program, World Policy Forum. I want to share this with you. This is a sample kiosk from Kingman Tours, and it's www.kingmantours. The website, the developer of this was a Kingman Main Street project that was brought to life through Talisman Magic Marketing. And the team down at Talisman Magic Marketing just gave the entire website a major facelift. So this is now not only a virtual tour of Kingman and a physical tour using QR codes. It's got the Route 66 gift shop and all kinds of things. And it's going to be linked to part 2 of this project, a Visit Kingman website. visitkingman.com, I believe. And this will be a portal that links with Kingman Tours. And it will be everything from relocation to planning a trip to Kingman. Everything you need, one-stop location for planning a trip to Western Arizona and making this a vacation destination. And knowing the folks at Talisman Magic Marketing, this is going to be impressive. As for next week, well, I don't know what we're going to do. But I am now the Western correspondent for the Route 66 Centennial magazine. You can see behind me. I just submitted my first article about Film and Celebrity Association's surprising Film and Celebrity Association in Kingman, Arizona, my adopted hometown. And you can learn more about that Film and Celebrity Association on kingman.tours. You can also pick up, since we're doing shameless self-promotion, you can also pick up the official Jim Hinckley's America Coffee with Jim mugs on the Kingman Tours website. So I guess next up today, let's answer some questions. Does anybody have anything that I can answer for you? Otherwise, I will continue beating my gums for just a few more minutes. A couple other things we can share with you. I have a blog post up, a series of blog posts about the local First Arizona Rural Policy Forum, and I've stewed on this a bit. We're going to have some fun with a blog post, JimHinkley'sAmerica.com, talking about. I was tongue in cheek during an interview. A reporter said that I was a chronic storyteller. I found that a very fascinating descriptor, and I'll put together a fun little blog post about the chronic storyteller. With that, I'm going to give a shout out to some great folks that have been so instrumental in everything we do here. I mentioned earlier Marian Pavel, Touch Media. They have the Route 66 Centennial Passport. I work with them on a variety of projects, and they are a sponsor of Jim Hinckley's America. Also, if you're interested in ordering one of my books from Reedy Press, here you go, is the ordering information for 100 Things to Do on Route 66 Before You Die. My other books were written, Route 66 100 Years is from Quattro Publishing. And last week we had the Museum of the Great Wars on. I've got another great program coming up. Yesterday I met with Paul and Tim from the Kingman Aviation Heritage Center that's being developed at the Kingman Airport and Industrial Park that was established in 1942 as the Kingman Army Airfield. And we're going to have more information on that coming up real soon. And going back to the sponsors and people who help support this, I want to thank the listeners who support us through Patreon, and now the followers who support us through Substack. Greatly appreciated. It helps keep these things, keeps the wheels rolling, if you will. Also, I want to give a shout out to David Brenner at the Roadrunner Lodge Motel. Dina Nelson, State Farm Insurance, is truly a hometown hero in Kingman, and she's a supporter and sponsor of ours as well. We mentioned Mr. D's Route 66 Diner and Gift Shop. Shelby and the family down there are big supporters, and we appreciate them very, very much. If you happen to be in Kingman, it's a great auto museum as well as a gift shop bookstore right on Route 66. It opened in 1946. The family's owned it since then. And the Dutton family, by the way, is celebrating 100 years of doing business on Route 66 in western Arizona. I mentioned David Brenner at the Roadrunner Lodge Motel. Not only a good friend, but a good friend to the Route 66 community and a first-class lodging experience. Time travel is possible when you stop at the Roadrunner Lodge Motel in Tucumcari. And then there's the irrepressible Vicky Ashcraft at the Enchanted Trails Trading Post and RV Park in Albuquerque on Route 66, the top of 9 Mile Hill just west of town. Vicky has been involved with so many things in the Route 66 community, including lending us a bit of support and a lot of support. And she's a founding member of the New Mexico Route 66 Alliance. She was heavily involved and was kind of a founding member almost of Route 66 Association New Mexico until that group was splintered by another faction. So she's a founding member of the New Mexico Route 66 Alliance. The Enchanted Trails is a full-service RV park as well as a small vintage travel trailer museum. Another great visit and stop along Route 66. You know, there's a lot of, unless you're just an adventurer, it just jumps in the car and goes and sees where you end up. Planning a Route 66 trip, it can be a challenge, or just a great trouble-free, worry-free road trip. So I've got some suggestions for you. If you're traveling Route 66, you'll want Jerry McClanahan's Easy 66 guide in the Route 66 navigation app. It's route66navigation.com. Or you can get a hold of Chantel and Steven at Route Trip USA. They are a bespoke holiday specialist, and they can set you up with a first-rate road trip experience in the United States or Canada, for that matter. My good friend at Austin Coop at Tulane America, he puts together some first-rate tours of Route 66 through the auto museums of southern Michigan, northern Indiana, fall colors. Austin does a bang-up job. His clients are always happy when they get here. One way I can tell if a tour guide and tour company is doing the right thing, after they've traveled 2,000 miles together, if they're smiling, joking, and happy and not looking for rope to hang the tour guide, you know he's done a good job. And then there's my good friend Sam Murray with Gilligan's Route 66 Tours. He offers a caravan tour, which is first rate, but self-guided tour really shines. It is unique and special. The attention to detail and what he puts together for you in this trip. It's not only are your accommodations and things taken care of, and no worries, travel at your own schedule, but he's got it set up in such a way it's almost like having your own tour guide in the car, personalized tour guide. And he does a first-rate Mississippi River trip too. Drive down the Mississippi River. Lots of history, lots of stops. My friends, I want to thank you for joining us this morning. And, we'll do this again next week. Same time, I guess. Something drastic happens. I'm sure we'll have lots of great things to share for you. I can't tell you who's going to be here, but I've got some ideas. And also, don't give up on Podbean. We're getting programs up. Try to get them up every Friday, Saturday at the latest. These are recorded programs. This past week, the program was trying to answer your questions about some of my favorite places to eat, stay, and see on Route 66. Talked about good pie, different places. You can tell I enjoy my good pie. My friends, until we meet again, I will bid you adios. I will say thank you for joining us today. And if you'd like to catch Cheryl Eichar Jett at a speaking engagement in the Illinois area, or catch her on the road for a book signing, check out her website at CherylEicharJett.com. And if you get a chance, check out the new Kingman Tours website. Drop me a note. Let me know what you think. With that said, my friends, I will bid you adios. And we will see you next week. Take care, my friends.